This video is about the full after break-in maintenance you'll have to do for a Mercury Gen-4 15 or 20 horsepower outboard. It's, in my opinion, the best portable outboard out there because of how light it is and how powerful they are. The lightest models for the 15 and the 20 horsepower weigh only 99 pounds. They're the same block, essentially the same motor, just the 20 is unrestricted. If you're looking at this motor and you're wondering which one you should definitely get the 20. It's able to plane a much bigger boat than what you see on here now at a reasonably high speed. And it will push a 14-foot modded out tiny boat like this like a dream with no problems. But it's time for its 20-hour break-in maintenance, and this is all about it from start to finish. Hey guys, right now check out one of our biggest sales of the year, the Cabin Fever sale. And also, I want to show you something that big trolling motor companies are soon going to hate very much, but we love it. This unit will replace our legacy Autoboat systems, which were already fantastic. I mean, you could drop them into anything like the center drive of this kayak. Has an insane density of value, it offers the most features for the most competitive price, nothing else beats it. People took their basic trolling motors and swapped that kit on it and experienced GPS features on their small watercraft for the first time. But now it's improved to even better heights. This is the Smart Head, and it is serious. Meant to propel the fishing experience of anybody with a kayak, inflatable, or even a small or mid-sized boat. Feature for feature, nothing else beats it for the price, and people know it. That's why it's on pre-order now, and it's almost already sold out. So there's a handful of them left. If you want one, check them out, tvnation.net. So what are these motors suited for? Anything from an inflatable like this one, all the way up to a 16-foot boat, like an aluminum boat on the lighter side. The 15 horse will plane most 14-foot boats with a reasonable load. The 20 is obviously going to be better for a larger 14-foot with a bigger load, or just a 16-foot boat in general. I wouldn't personally run a 15 horsepower on a 16-foot boat. For the initial break-in period, run your motor at idle for 5 minutes before actually starting to go with it. Then, between 30 to 50% throttle, run that for about 30 minutes. Then for the next 9 hours or so, keep the motor between 0 and 4,500 RPMs. If you run it at wide open throttle, try to run it at wide open throttle after 3 hours and only do it for no more than 5 minutes at a time until you reach the full 10-hour break-in period. Essentially, keeping your boat at half throttle for the first 10 hours is going to ensure a really good break-in period. But most of you are going to want to plane, so that means you need the right pitch to be able to plane your boat at half throttle. The 20 comes stock with an 8 pitch, the 15 comes stock with a 7. Now, if your boat is heavier or just big for the motor, you might have to drop down from an 8 to a 7 for the 20 and from a 7 to the 6 with a 15. Now, if your boat still can't plane after that, then the motor is simply undersized for the boat or you have too heavy a load in it. After the first 10 hours, you can kind of run it however you want, but you do need to maintenance it at 20 hours. And this is to check for any sort of abnormal metal wear or anything like that. That all happens during the first 20 hours of operation. You can pay somebody to do this service for you, but it will probably cost hundreds of dollars. All right, so this is how you would maintenance this motor. It is completely doable DIY. We're just going to show you the process and talk about how it's done.
First thing we're going to do is pop off the cowling. Every motor is going to be different depending on the horsepower, year, but on this one, what we're going to do, everything we need for our basic 20-hour oil change. We're just going to pop the filter and drain the main oil, and then we'll do a brief overlook on everything else. There's fuel filters, impellers. We'll see where we need to go after that. But we're going to pop the dipstick. We're going to come over here, grab your 5/8 wrench. Now this has a lot of force behind it. It's going to squirt out. So have your pan ready, your drip rags ready. You're going to want to hold it up as an angle, but it is going to get messy. Get that nice and loose.
Well, that wasn't as bad as I thought it would be.
Let's let that all come out. If you guys do this yourself, you go to a shop, there is a crush washer that goes on there. You don't have to replace them every time, but if you're on your 4th or 5th service,
yeah,
I would definitely get the new crush washer. Collect as much of the spillage as I can. Good thing about a motor not being run in the wild, there's no oil on the filter, so no mess. Make sure where your oil filter sits on that ring, it's clean. They're not all gonna look the same. This is an actual Merc filter. This is your generic. I'm not sure what brand that is.
That's what came on the motor. Same size though, right?
No, it's same filter. It's just not. This is Mercury. Got Mercury sticker. You're gonna want to do oil on the filter O-ring.
Do you want to fill it up at all?
No.
You can't really. It's a side.
It's sided. There's no point at all. Here, put that on there. Give it one more twist, and that is a tight filter. Pop a oil fill cap. This gives you every piece of general information you will need. Oil, spark plug gap, routine maintenance, wide open throttle RPM, neutral idle RPM. Everything you need to know about your motors right here. Between that hole and that hole is where you want your oil. As you can see, I don't know if the camera's picking this up. Oh, you see the oil's right there on our stick. We're right about perfect. Anything that's yellow on a Mercury motor is referring to the oil. Yellow dipstick, yellow fill cap. Your drain plugs and your fill plug are probably gonna be on the outside. If they're not, remove your prop, and they may have the fill or the drain underneath the prop.
Okay.
So what we're gonna do, take your drain out first. There will be an O-ring or a gasket on these. So if it's not on this plug, it's left in its little container, you're gonna wanna get that. Alright, you see how there's no O-ring on that? Once that finished draining, we'll pluck out the O-ring. Just loosen that up real quick. Once you pop this, that will start draining fairly quickly. Just like that.
For the lower unit, we purchased 8090 Mercury gear oil. You also have to get a gear oil pump kit like this one. So there is the fitting, then there's where the hose screws in, and the rest of it goes back to a pump that goes into the oil bottle. And you screw that on, make sure there's a seal, and start pumping. So you're gonna pump from bottom to top, and that will squeeze all the air and old fluid out, and eventually it will come out of this port. Once it comes out of this port, you know it's full, and you can now just go ahead and cap that top off. And you have to cap the top off before you take the bottom off, or the oil will flow right back out because of the air pressure. So the top cap keeps that pressure, so minimal fluid gets lost when you try to plug the bottom. This is the impeller you need. That's the number. And it's just this little dude. We're gonna go ahead and put it right in here. Gotta undo these 4 bolts and that thing. That white housing right there on top houses the internal cylinder, which in turn houses the impeller. The impeller is responsible for pumping water through the engine to cool it while it's running, and if it fails for any reason, you're screwed. Sadly, many people neglect this just because it's a little bit more labor intensive than one would want, but it's going to be at the cost of your motor if it blows. When reinstalling the new impeller back into the cylinder, you can put some hand soap around there just to kind of get it slippery. That way it can slide right back on there with very little issues, and it won't bind when you're trying to put the housing back on. Refasten and button it up the way you found it, and you're ready to go.
It's new and the old. And the old one honestly looks in fairly good condition, huh?
Yeah, we would have been fine.
Well, better safe than sorry.
Yeah. These little ones are pretty durable.
The last steps are to retighten up everything the way you found it. Nice snug fits. You can look up Mercury's factory torque specs for all those bolts if you want to go that far. More important thing is when you're realigning that shifter, just to make sure it's in neutral. Then go ahead and make steps to retighten everything. Make sure that when you go through the shifting phases that it's doing what it's supposed to do. Like it's free spinning in neutral, only spinning to the right when forward. And after this is done, you're ready to use the motor again, and you don't have to maintenance this motor for another 100 hours. Make sure you have an hour meter attached to the inside of your cowl.